Good morning, dear children. In my last video, I read this chapter, Life with Uncle Ken, written by Ruskin Bond. I read it for you and we discussed half of the story. Well, I'm repeating the points, important points of the story again. Ruskin Bond is writing about his childhood experience when he was a young student who was studying in a boarding school, and whenever he had winter vacations, he would visit his granny, his maternal grandmother, in the holidays, and she would stay for 1 month with her grandmother. And he was very fond of living there because his grandmother was a great cook. She would cook all sorts of delicious dishes for her grandson, and because Ruskin Bond was a young boy with a great appetite, so he would really enjoy tasting all the new and delicious dishes prepared by his grandmother. And then he describes that how was the house of grandmother. It was a big rambling bungalow. It was a very beautiful place that was spread all over a large area, and kitchen was the most favorite part of the house because Ruskin Bond knew that there his grandmother would cook something special for you, all sorts of vegetarian and non-vegetarian dishes like cakes and curries, chocolate fudge, peanut toffee, jellies, jam tarts, meat pies, etc. And there was a large area for all sorts of trees, mango trees, lychees, guavas, bananas, papayas, lemons. There was a room for all of them, including a giant jackfruit tree casting its shadow on the house, on the walls of the house. And then he tells us that his grandmother, although she was the only family member who was living there, but she was not all alone. There were other members to give her the company. There was a gardener, Dhuki, and his young son Mohan, who was about the age of the author. And then there was an elderly helper to help in household works. There was a Siamese pet cat with bright blue eyes and a mongrel dog called Crazy. He was named Crazy because he used to run around the house like a crazy creature. So the name of the mongrel dog he was given the name Crazy. And then Ruskin Bond talks about one of the relatives of him. His name was Uncle Ken. Uncle Ken was actually Granny's nephew, the son of Granny's brother or sister. So Uncle Ken sometimes used to visit grandmother whenever Uncle Ken was out of some kind of job, or whenever he was missing the food cooked at home. So that time he would visit grandmother, and grandmother, as she was a great cook, so she would enjoy cooking for her grandson and for Uncle Ken. So Ruskin Bond used to call the nephew of Granny by the name of Uncle Ken. And now he is sharing in next few paragraphs, which we are now going to read. In these paragraphs, Ruskin Bond is sharing his experience of spending the days at Granny's home with Uncle Ken, what kind of relationship he used to share with Uncle Ken. So let's see what's there. Whenever I'm rereading this passage we read last time, just to remind you about the story, whenever Granny was tried out of a new recipe on me, she would wait for my comments and reactions and then make a note in one of her exercise books. Granny always used to try the new recipe over narrator, and whenever she would cook a new recipe, she would wait for the comments by the narrator. वो हमेशा वेट करती कि क्या मेरे ग्रैंडसन को ये नई डिश पसंद आई या नहीं पसंद आई, and whatever comments were made by her grandson, she would note it in a notebook, in an exercise book, so that she can prepare it well next time. Agar if there is a scope of improvement, then she could improve her recipe next time. Roast duck, this was one of Granny's specials. So the Granny's specialty was roast duck. She used to cook roast duck in a very fine manner, and it was something the most delicious one. The first time I had roast duck at Granny's place, Uncle Ken was there too. Here narrator says that when I tasted the roast duck for the first time, I very vividly I remember that at that time Uncle Ken, Granny's nephew, was also there. He would just lost a job as a railway guard and had come to stay with Granny until he could find another job. ये आपको स्टोरी में पहले भी बताया गया है कि अंकल कैन ग्रैनी के घर तब आते थे जब भी कभी उनकी कोई नौकरी उन्होंने छोड़ दी, या फिर जब भी कभी उन्हें घर का खाना खाने का दिल करता तो तब वो ग्रैनी के घर आते थे. सो दिस टाइम when the narrator had the roast duck for the first time at Granny's place, that time Uncle Ken was also there. And why he was there? Because he had just lost a job as a railway guard. उन्होंने अभी एक नौकरी छोड़ी थी. He was a railway guard and he had quit this job and he had come to stay with Granny until he could find another job. Now he was looking for another job. He always stayed as long as he could, only moving on when Granny offered to get him a job as an assistant master in Padre Lal's academy for small boys. So Uncle Ken used to stay as long as he wanted to stay at Granny's home. उनको वहाँ पे कोई मना नहीं करता कि तुम थोड़े दिन रहो. वो जितने दिन चाहते वो Granny के घर रह सकते थे. And now Granny was offering him a job. She was offering him a job as an assistant master in Padre Lal's academy for small boys. This was the job where he had to look after the young boys. छोटे बच्चों की देखभाल करने के लिए उन्हें असिस्टेंट मास्टर की जॉब ऑफर की गई in Padre Lal's academy. But uncle was not very happy with this job. He was not very much willing to do this job. Why? Uncle couldn't stand small boys. Couldn't stand small boys means he couldn't tolerate the mischief of the young boys. उनको छोटे बच्चों को हैंडल करना नहीं आता था. He couldn't treat young boys well. वो छोटे बच्चों को देखकर नर्वस हो जाते थे. छोटे बच्चों की शरारतें देखकर वो परेशान होने वाले थे. So this was not a suitable job for him. The job as an assistant master in Padre Lal's academy for small boys. They made him nervous, he said. I made him nervous too, but there was only one of me, and there was always Granny to protect him. At Padre Lal's, there were over 100 small boys. So narrator says that Uncle Ken was not able to handle the young boys. Young boys used to make him nervous. वो nervous हो जाते थे छोटे बच्चों को देखकर. Even he used to be nervous on seeing me at Granny's house. मुझे भी वो घर पे जब भी मैं घर पर होता तो वो मुझे देखकर भी नर्वस हो जाते थे. Even I used to irritate him, and I was only one at Granny's house, and there was Granny to protect me. He couldn't harm me, he couldn't hurt me, he couldn't scold me because there was Granny to protect me. What would he do at Padre Lal's academy where there would be hundreds of boys? How would he deal with those hundreds of small children? How would he handle all these boys? जब ग्रैनी के घर पर एक छोटा लड़का देखकर वो नर्वस हो जाते थे, तो फिर पादरे लाल एकेडमी में हंड्रेड्स ऑफ बॉयज़ को वो कैसे संभालेंगे ये उन्हें भी नहीं पता था. दिस इज़ वाई ही वॉज नॉट वेरी विलिंग टू डू दिस जॉब विच वॉज ऑफर्ड टू हिम बाय ग्रैनी. Although Uncle Ken had a tremendous appetite and ate just as much as I did, he never praised Granny's dishes. One thing was common between Uncle Ken and the author, the narrator. What was that one thing which was common between the young boy and Uncle Ken? It was their great appetite. Tremendous means great. Great. They both had great appetite, but Uncle Ken was a thankless human being. He never used to appreciate Granny for her new and delicious dishes. Ruskin Bond, as a young Ruskin Bond, was always ready to praise Granny for her efforts for all sorts of good dishes she used to cook. लेकिन Uncle Ken कभी भी Granny की तारीफ नहीं करते थे. He never praised Granny's dishes. And I think this is why I was annoyed with him at times, and why sometimes I enjoyed making him feel nervous. Look at this young boy. This young boy is observing that Uncle Ken never thanked my granny for cooking such delicious food. So this is why he says I was annoyed with him. Underline this word annoyed. Annoyed means angry. इसीलिए मुझे कभी भी अंकल कैन पसंद नहीं आए, इसीलिए मुझे उन पे हमेशा गुस्सा आता था. Why? Because he never used to praise Granny for the delicious food she used to cook for everyone. And this is why I enjoyed making him feel nervous. इसीलिए मैं जानबूझ के कोई ना कोई ऐसी हरकत करता था जिसकी वजह से अंकल कैन इरिटेट हो जाएं, वो चिढ़ जाएं, वो नर्वस हो जाएं. Because I wanted to teach him a lesson, as he never used to praise Granny for her dishes. Uncle Ken looked down at the roast duck. His glasses slipped down on the edge of his nose. Here the narrator is talking about the day he was having roast duck for the first time. अब हम narrator हमें बता रहे हैं उस दिन के बारे में जब उन्होंने पहली बार ग्रैंड मदर के द्वारा बनी हुई रोस्टेड डक पहली बार खाई, और उस वक्त अंकल कैन भी वहाँ थे. So now he is telling us what was the reaction of Uncle Ken. Uncle Ken looked down at the roast duck. Uncle Ken ने देखा that before him the roasted duck cooked by grandmother has been served, and his glasses slipping down to the edge of his nose, and he started examining the food very carefully by slipping his glasses slipped down on the edge of his nose. It means that he was observing it very carefully, and then he said, by making a very irritable face, he said, duck again, Aunt Ellen. Who is Aunt Ellen here? Aunt Ellen is the granny of Ruskin Bond. So he didn't used to call, Uncle Ken didn't used to call her granny. Uncle Ken used to call her Aunt Ellen. So he said, duck again, Aunt Ellen. He was very bored on seeing that roasted duck before him. He was not happy. उन्हें ये खाना देखकर, रोस्टेड डक देखकर बिल्कुल भी खुशी नहीं हुई, और उन्होंने मुंह बनाते हुए कहा, duck again, Aunt Ellen. What do you mean duck again? You haven't had duck since you were here last month. And this irritated Granny, and Granny firmly said, what do you mean by duck again? I haven't cooked it since you visited me last time. जब last time तुम last month मेरे पास रहने आए थे तब मैंने बनाई थी. For last 1 month I haven't cooked it. So how can you say that the duck again? It's not something I cook every day. And then Uncle Ken said, that's what I mean, said Uncle Ken. Somehow one expects more variety from you, Aunt. Now he is trying to do the buttering. अब वो मक्खन लगाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, ग्रैनी को प्लीज़ करने की कोशिश कर रहा है ताकि ग्रैनी उसके लिए कोई और डिश बना सके. So he says, that's what I mean. Somehow one expects more variety from you, Aunt. You are so talented, you are so expert in cooking, and one expects a large variety of dishes from you. Why are you repeating this dish of roasted duck again and again? You should try something new. Please underline these dialogues for reference to context. Duck again, Aunt Ellen. Who said this? It is said by Uncle Ken. What do you mean duck again? You haven't had duck since you were here last month. Who said these words? These words are said by Granny. That's what I mean, said Uncle Ken. Somehow one expects more variety from you, Aunt. Now let's see what happens next. All the same, he took large helpings and ate most of the stuffing before I could get at it. I took my revenge by emptying all the applesauce onto my plate. Uncle Ken knew I loved the stuffing, and I knew he was crazy about Granny's applesauce. So we were even. Now, here, through these lines, narrator is displaying his relationship, the kind of relationship he shares with Uncle Ken. किस तरह का रिलेशनशिप वो अंकल कैन के साथ शेयर करते हैं, किस तरह से दोनों के बीच नोक झोंक चली रहती है, इस पैराग्राफ के थ्रू ये हमें पता चलता है. He says all the same he took large helpings. All the same means even though he was not happy on seeing roasted duck. जब उन्होंने roasted duck को अपने सामने देखा तो वो चिढ़ गए, लेकिन जब खाने की बारी आई then he took two large helpings. Two large helpings means great amount of food. Amount of food. Helpings means amount of food. So you can note down this. Helpings means amount of food. So he says he took the largest part of the food. जो खाने का main part था, अच्छा part था, delicious part, वो उन्होंने अपनी plate पे serve किया. He took two large helpings and ate the most of the stuffing before I could get at it. He left very little for me. मेरे लिए बहुत कम खाना बच गया. He ate most of the delicious part of the roasted duck and he left very little for me. I took my revenge by emptying all the applesauce onto my plate. Now it was my time to take the revenge. अब बदला लेने की बारी थी. So how did narrator take the revenge? He emptied all the applesauce onto his plate. उन्होंने एप्पल सॉस सारी की सारी अपनी प्लेट में डाल दी और अंकल कैन के लिए कुछ भी नहीं छोड़ा. Uncle Ken knew I loved the stuffing and I knew he was very crazy about Granny's applesauce. Actually, why narrator was so irritated from Uncle Ken? Because Uncle Ken had eaten his favorite part of the meat, that was the stuffing. Roasted duck की जो stuffing part था, which is the most delicious one, Uncle Ken ate all of this, and Uncle Ken knew that narrator is crazy about stuffing. He wanted to eat the stuffing part. So just to irritate narrator को तंग करने के लिए, उस young boy को तंग करने के लिए, अंकल कैन ने जो स्टफिंग वाला पार्ट था जो नरेटर को पसंद था वो खुद खा लिया और उसके लिए बहुत कम छोड़ा. तो उसने भी आगे से बदला कैसे लिया? ही न्यू दैट अंकल कैन वाज क्रेजी अबाउट ग्रैनीज एप्पल सॉस. अंकल कैन्स फेवरेट डिश वाज ग्रैनीज एप्पल सॉस, द एप्पल सॉस made by Granny. So he served all the apple sauce. He poured all the apple sauce onto his plate so that he can irritate his Uncle Ken in return. तो इस तरह से दोनों ने एक दूसरे को इरिटेट किया. दोनों ने एक दूसरे की फेवरेट डिश का फेवरेट पार्ट ले लिया ताकि दोनों एक दूसरे को तंग कर सकें. एंड सो वी वर इवन. सो वी वर इवन मीन्स वी वर इक्वल इन इरिटेटिंग ईच अदर. हम दोनों ने इस तरह से एक दूसरे को इरिटेट किया. अंकल कैन एट माई फेवरेट स्टफिंग ऑफ रोस्टेड डक and I ate his favorite apple sauce. So Uncle Ken became so irritated on seeing the young Ruskin born. He asked him, "When are you joining your parents?" He asked hopefully over the jam tart while he was serving the jam tart. Hopefully over the jam tart means while he was taking jam tart, he asked the narrator, "When are you joining your parents?" Who said this? Uncle Ken. Uncle Ken ने पूछा narrator से, "When are you joining your parents? When are you going? When are you leaving this place?" कब जा रहे हो, कब अपने पेरेंट्स के पास जाओगे? क्योंकि वो अंकल कैन को, वो रस्किन बॉर्न को पसंद नहीं करते थे. बिकॉज रस्किन was a young boy and he was always irritated and nervous on seeing the young boys. "I may not go to them this year," I said. When are you getting another job, uncle? So this way you can see narrator and Uncle Ken share a very sweet rivalry. बड़ी प्यारी दुश्मनी है दोनों के बीच में. दोनों एक दूसरे को तंग करते हैं और फिर दोनों जानबूझ के एक दूसरे से ऐसे क्वेश्चंस पूछते हैं जिससे वो एक दूसरे को और ज़्यादा इरिटेट कर सकें. सो व्हेन Uncle Ken asked narrator, when are you going to your parents? He said, I may not go to them this year. रस्किन बॉन्ड ने शुरू में ही स्टोरी के शुरू में हमें बताया that whenever he had holidays, winter holidays, he would spend 1 month with grandmother and then he would go to his parents. So he said, जानबूझ के, अब नरेटर कहते हैं कि मैंने जानबूझ के अंकल केन को चिढ़ाने के लिए कहा, आई मे नॉट गो टू देम दिस ईयर. इस साल तो मैं नहीं जाऊँगा, इस साल तो मैं यहीं रहूँगा. आई विल स्पेंड एंटायर हॉलीडेज़ विद ग्रैनी. When are you getting another job, uncle? Uncle, आप अपने बारे में बताइए. When are you going? When will you get a new job and when will you leave my nanny's place? Oh, I'm thinking of taking a break for a couple of months. Who said this? This is said by Uncle Ken. अब Uncle Ken ने भी बदले में नरेटर को चिढ़ाने के लिए, इरिटेट करने के लिए कहा that I am thinking of taking a break for a couple of months. I am not going to join any job for a long time. I am thinking of taking a break from the job and I am thinking of enjoy my time at here only at Aunt Ellen's house. I enjoyed helping Granny and Aya with washing up. Aya means the maid. So now now Ruskin Bond is telling us how he would after lunch, whenever it was time to clean up the dining table or to wash the utensils, at that time I enjoyed helping Granny and Aya with washing up. I used to help them to clear up the table and to clean the kitchen. I used to help them. I used to help my Granny and my Aya. While we were at work, Uncle Ken would take a siesta on the veranda or switch on the radio to listen to dance music. Now here Ruskin Bond is trying to display how lazy Uncle Ken was. While this young boy is helping his grandmother and the Aya to clean up the kitchen and to wash up the utensils, Uncle Ken would take a siesta. Taking a siesta means taking a nap. Some people have this habit of sleeping just after they take the lunch. दिन के वक्त कुछ लोग सो जाते हैं, especially in afternoons when you take a nap. थोड़ी देर के लिए जब आप सोते हैं, that is known as siesta. See, siesta, period of rest in the afternoon in some hot countries. When some people prefer to sleep for a while, थोड़ी देर के लिए जब सोते हैं, आराम करते हैं खाना खाने के एकदम बाद, that is known as siesta, the afternoon nap. So here narrator is showing that how Uncle Ken used to sleep, how he used to take a rest while all other family members are working. A young boy, एक छोटा सा 9-10 साल का लड़का काम कर रहा है किचन में अपनी ग्रैनी के साथ, मेड की हेल्प कर रहा है सफाई करने में, लेकिन एक तरफ अंकल कैन है जो बड़े आराम से ही इज़ टेकिंग द आफ्टरनून नैप, ही इज़ जस्ट टेकिंग रेस्ट एंड ही वुड लिसन टू द रेडियो. Glenn Miller and his swing band was all the rage then. Rage, what is rage? Please underline this word rage. Rage means quite popular. Quite popular. So he is saying that Glenn Miller and his swing band, it's the name of a musical band, right? So वो music सुनते, किसका music सुनते? He used to listen the music of Glenn Miller and his swing band because it was all the rage then, because it was very famous at that time. ये उस ज़माने की बात है when Ruskin Bond was a young boy and he used to visit his grandmother's house in his winter vacation. And how do you like Uncle Ken? Asked Granny one day. Please underline this dialogue for reference to context. So एक दिन grandmother ने मुझसे पूछा, how do you like Uncle Ken? While she was emptied the bones from his plate into the dog's bowl. At that time she was putting the bones, left out bones of the meat into the dog's bowl. वो डॉग को बोन्स दे रही थी, जो खाना खाने के बाद, जो मीट खाने के बाद जो बोन्स बच जाती हैं. शी वॉज एम्प्टेड दिस बोन्स फ्रॉम द प्लेट इनटू डॉग्स बाउल, एंड एट दैट टाइम शी आस्क्ड द नरेटर, हाउ डू यू लाइक अंकल कैन? तुम्हें अंकल कैन कैसे लगते हैं? And narrator said, I wish he was someone else's uncle. It means narrator wants to say, I don't like him. Why he is my uncle? He should be someone else's uncle. I don't like him. He is not so bad, really, just eccentric. Who said these lines? These lines are said by Granny. So Granny said, he is not so bad. इतने भी बुरे नहीं है जितना बुरा तुम्हें लग रहा है, उनके नाम से तुम इतने इरिटेट हो रहे हो. ही इज़ नॉट दैट बैड, ही इज़ जस्ट इसेंट्रिक. इसेंट्रिक मीन्स लिटिल बिट स्ट्रेंज, अनयूजुअल, जो दूसरों से डिफरेंट है, थोड़ा अजीब है. तो ग्रानी ने कहा कि वो थोड़े अजीब हैं. अंकल कैन तुम्हें बुरे लगते हैं, लेकिन वो बुरे नहीं हैं. ही इज़ ओनली स्ट्रेंज, ही इज़ ओनली अनयूजुअल. वो थोड़ा दूसरों से डिफरेंट हैं. But he's not bad. What's eccentric? Then Uncle Ken asked, what's the meaning of, sorry, not Uncle Ken, Ruskin born narrator. Narrator asked, what's eccentric? What do you mean that he is eccentric? Oh, just a little crazy. Who said this? Granny. And who said what's eccentric? Narrator. So narrator said, what do you mean by eccentric, grandma? And grandma said, oh, just little crazy. थोड़े से पागल हैं, थोड़े से क्रेज़ी हैं, थोड़ी सी बहकी हरकतें करते हैं, थोड़ी सी अजीब ढंग से दूसरों के सामने पेश आते हैं. He is little crazy. And crazy was also the name of grandma's pet mongrel dog. So narrator related this name with the name of the pet dog, and he said, at least Crazy runs around the house. I said, I have never seen Uncle Ken running. He said, even our pet dog Crazy is better than our crazy Uncle Ken, because he keeps on running around the house. At least he does something. कम से कम crazy dog सारा दिन घर के चारों तरफ दौड़ता तो है. Crazy Uncle Ken तो कभी कोई काम नहीं करते. He doesn't even run like crazy dog. So this was a very entertaining chapter. It was very interesting. Here Ruskin Bond is sharing his sweet rivalry, love and hate relationship with his Uncle Ken, who was the nephew of his grandmother, and he is also telling us how much he used to love his granny and how much he used to enjoy visiting his granny's house, because he was a boy with a great appetite and his grandmother was an expert in cooking. And then he's also sharing with us what kind of relationship he used to have Uncle Ken, how Uncle Ken was found it so difficult to deal with young boys, and how young Ruskin Bond used to irritate him by eating the favorite dish of Uncle Ken, or to irritate him by asking him some questions which Uncle Ken didn't used to like. So this is a very interesting chapter, and the language is quite interesting, so you can reread it and then you will have a better understanding of the chapter. So this is my request from all of you. Please go through this chapter again, reread it, and if you have any queries, any questions regarding this chapter, or any word you are not able to understand, or any line you are not able to comprehend, then please do ask me in your virtual class. Till then, keep reading and enjoy.